Why would I need to learn from some archaic old dude from 2,000 years ago about how to build my personal brand in today's era? You may be surprised. You may be shocked. You may just be bambasted. Is that even a word? Probably not. Who cares? Because I'm going to talk to you about things that you're probably going to really be surprised about. It's going to really hit you on a whole new level and give you perspective, I think, on how to get your message out there in a compelling, powerful, effective manner. That's what I do. If you don't know who I am Professor Nez, personal branding coach, executive career coach. I help companies and individuals craft a standout personal brand so that they can grow faster, increase revenue, and stress less. And if you need any kind of help like that at all, I'd have a company. I run 2 businesses. I'm also a professor. I'll leave links in the show notes down below, and you can reach me anytime at nez@professornez.com. I'm happy to communicate with you. I'm happy to have you be a part of our awesome Nez Nation family. We're bringing more humanness to this digitalness. That's our kind of mantra here, and it's just really nice to have you with us. Also, don't forget, I mentioned this earlier, so we have a podcast. And some of you guys are listening to this on the podcast right now. We have a Nez Nation Live podcast. Okay, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Anchor, we're everywhere you listen, pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. Google Podcasts, we're pretty much everywhere. So I would love for you to go join, subscribe. I know a lot of you guys, just like me, you're super, super busy. You don't have time to sit here and watch an hour-long video on Aristotle, Ethos, Pathos, logos, personal branding. What the schmell is going on here? I get it. You know, you're busy. So am I. So I know that podcasting, I know that voice content, audio content is a super convenient way to get the information that you need. I'm a big proponent of self-education, and I really try to convey that in my brand, and I really try to sort of carry that, just be another link in the chain, if you will, because even though I've got 3 degrees, I've said this many, many times before, you could throw them all in the fireplace and light them on fire compared to the real, actual, experiential knowledge that I gain from going after and pursuing interests, pursuing learnings that tapped into my chest. That's what my channel is all about. I'm not worried about the dude between your ears. I want to talk about that dude inside your chest. Is that dude inside your chest energized, inspired, beating with a desire to, do what you really want to do on the day-to-day? If not, then I would implore you to take a stop, take a pause, hit that giant P button in your life, hit that giant pause button in your life, take a look around and see what is really going on. Pay attention. That's what this masterclass is all about, on how to be persuasive and what kind of persuasive techniques we can learn from Aristotle to build our personal brand. And I'm going to talk about ethos, pathos, and logos in just a second. We're living in an era now. Personal branding is essentially, personal branding, all it really means is 21st century communications. Everything starts with communications. You want to build a community. You want to make friends. You want to meet the right people. You want to network. It starts with communications. You want to build a company. You want to build a business. You want to sell products and services. I don't know who you are. The world doesn't know who you are until you communicate that. You want to meet the person of your dreams. You want to marry this girl. You want to marry this man. Who are you? I've said this before to my classes, and they kind of get a kick out of this. I've seen the most beautiful women in my life literally deteriorate. Their beauty just deteriorates right before my eyes as soon as they open their mouth. And I know for a fact, ladies out there, my female Nez Nation family members, I know you can feel this too. Looks only last about 5 minutes. If you don't have something powerful to say, if you don't convey something that I can resonate with, it's hasta la pasta. I don't care if you're George Clooney. I don't care if you're DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, or I don't know. I'm too old. Whoever the young, good-looking dudes and dudettes are, I have no idea. Everything starts with communications. Everything does. And that's what today's, really masterclass is all about. That's what this masterclass is all about. It's all about trying to really help you guys to convey your purpose. Aristotle started with a kind of what's called a rhetorical triangle. And this is what's really interesting too, is a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people, they think that when they hear the word rhetoric, this is based on common sense, right? This is based on, this is based on just logic. Speaking of logos, which I'm going to talk about in a second, I'm going to talk about the 3 appeals. Everything starts with this. We are a species. We are a mammal on this, organism called the Earth that is able to communicate in very complex ways, able to communicate in very powerful ways. As far as we know, we're the only species that has this complicated a linguistic system. I don't know about you guys, but I'm inspired by words. I'm inspired by, I love reading. I'm an author and I'm a writer, and I try to write almost every day. At least I try to. I don't usually always get to do that, but I try very hard to write every single day. If you look at all the greatest movements in history, they all started with amazing, eloquent, powerful, inspired speeches. If you look at the country of the United States of America, if you don't think words matter, I'm not saying that looks don't matter. They do, but they only last about 5 minutes. If there's nothing substantive underneath there. So how does this relate to personal branding? You may have a fancy logo. You may have a fancy, office place or office space. You may have fancy campaigns. You may have a fancy looking box for your product. But if there's no substance underneath, you may have a fancy book cover. You may have an unbelievable thumbnail, YouTubers. You may have an amazing glossy Instagram profile pic that's been photoshopped. But if there's nothing substantive underneath, you ain't got Nathan, as far as I'm concerned. You got zilch. You got nada. Hasta la pasta. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. I'm sorry. You don't. Your words matter. Your words can convey your humanness, your speech, your authorship, your writing, your words. They matter more than anything. Conversation. Think about those conversations that have moved the earth. How many people in the chat have actually been in a conversation where you felt like, my God, I don't want this to ever end? Why do we hang out with the type of social circles that we hang out with? Why do we commiserate? Why do we consider this person our BFF or our best friend? Is it just because they're pretty? Is it just because of their status? Is it just because of how many followers they have, how many likes they have, how many subscribers they have? Or is it because when you are with them, you're able to communicate your spirit, your soul, and they understand that, and they're able to communicate their spirit and their soul. Words are a bridge. Words are, to me, effective communication to me is the ultimate antidote to what I call the greatest disease of mankind, misunderstanding. A lot of people think that, Ebola is the greatest disease that ever hit mankind. Cancer, leukemia, heart disease, polio, whatever, pick a disease. I think misunderstanding trumps them all. I think misunderstanding is and I'm not belittling, any affliction. This is just my humble opinion as somebody who eats, sleeps, and breathes language for over 30 years and who's been able to build 2 businesses, who's been able to build unbelievable partnerships, friendships, the woman of my dreams. I was able to win the woman of my dreams with my ability to communicate who I am. It's not that I'm special. It's not that you're wielding words in a manipulative way, or your persuasion has a bad rap. Rhetoric has a bad rap. I mean, when most of you guys think of the word rhetoric, you probably think of, oh God, it sounds like something you hear on Fox News or CNN or some political. It sounds like BS. No, actually, the word rhetoric, this goes back to Aristotle. Aristotle's definition, okay, of rhetoric, and actually, this coming from the ancient Greeks, the word rhetoric, it really spawns from the ancient Greeks, specifically the ancient masters and teachers and philosophers. My favorite definition of rhetoric is an awareness. Everybody should write this down right now. My favorite definition. Okay. And I can't remember if I came up with this or if I got this from somewhere else. I'm totally, being honest right now, I can't remember. I think I got it from somebody else. I'm happy to give credit where credit's due. My definition of the word rhetoric is an awareness of the language choices that we make. Think about that. You want to talk about the antidote to misunderstanding. I think misunderstanding is the number one cause of families being destroyed, businesses being destroyed, friendships being destroyed. I think misunderstanding is the underlying cause of wars. Maybe the epitomal cause of bloodshed throughout the history of mankind. Misunderstanding. Look at that definition. This is Aristotle. This is what this class is all about. An awareness of the language choices that we make. And in this epoch and in this era, this is where language choices are taking place. Through video, through live streaming, through YouTube videos, through branding, through Instagram, through your website, through your copywriting, through your articles, through your blogs. This is 21st century communication. So if you don't have an awareness, the key word is awareness, you're more susceptible to the ultimate disease, I think, in my humble opinion, of mankind, misunderstanding. And I would say at the core, at the root of all human suffering, if not most human suffering, is misunderstanding. I truly believe this with all my heart. I mean, my brothers and sisters across the Atlantic, this 1,000-year-old war between the Jews and the Arabs, talk about a major misunderstanding. They're all brothers. They're all brothers and sisters. They come from the same land, and they're arguing over a book. Over a book. If you really think about it, over a book. How many deaths? How many families have been ravaged? How many landscapes have been ravaged over the misunderstanding of a book? This is huge. This may just be the most important class. This may just be the most important live stream. This may just be the most important piece of content I've ever produced. And I'm so happy that you're here with me. How many times have you had an impression of someone based on looks? And you're like, wow, I'm interested here. This is going to be intriguing. Maybe it's not just a sexual attraction or a physical attraction. Maybe it's just that they look like a cool person. They look like a cool person I can dig. Something about them. I don't know. Maybe their shoes or the way their manner, their demeanor, their mannerisms, their gestures, something, their vibe. You get an initial impression and then you hear them talk. And then you actually try to have a conversation with this individual. And everything goes crashing to a screeching halt. How cliche, screeching halt. That's why I'm very excited about this live stream today. That's why I'm very excited to talk to you about something I've studied, researched, implemented, and I actually teach at the university level. Aristotle's techniques for persuasion, aka rhetoric, using the three major rhetorical appeals: ethos, pathos, and logos. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. If you don't think words matter, if you don't think your language is everything, the way that you communicate everything, that's what my whole business is all about. My Professor Nez consulting agency. It's all about conveying a message. in a compelling way that's unique to you, that clearly defines who you are, so that there's no misunderstanding, or at least very little. Even if you can get away with very little misunderstanding, you're doing fantastic. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with the inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You don't think words matter? You don't think words matter? Those are the words that started this nation. If you don't know what that's from, it's from the Declaration of Independence, written by probably one of my favorite historical figures, definitely one of my favorite writers. I mean, talk about a command of the English language. I think Thomas Jefferson has even a higher command of the English language than maybe even Shakespeare. One document, one piece of paper created everything you see. It was the catalyst to everything you see. The Declaration of Independence inspired an entire movement. It was one thing in that Continental Congress in Philadelphia to get together and talk about a revolution. It was another thing to put it down in writing, which made it real, which made it concrete. And the citizens of the 13 colonies in 1776 were inspired by those words. And those words moved mountains.